Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're diving into a topic that might surprise some folks. California's solar energy situation.
Oh, yeah.
You might know that California is like a leader in solar, but what you might not know is they're actually having trouble using all the power that they generate.
Interesting.
We've got an article from SF Gate
Okay.
and a Reddit thread from Start Technology
Right.
that unpack this whole situation, this head-scratcher.
Okay.
So why is the Golden State, bathed in sunshine,
Right.
and at the forefront of solar, grappling with this paradox of abundance and waste?
Well, it's really interesting because this situation in California really kind of forces us to challenge how we normally think about renewable energy.
Okay.
We often focus on scarcity, right?
Yeah.
Not having enough clean power. But California is kind of showing us that producing clean energy, well, it's just one part of the puzzle. Figuring out how to actually manage and distribute that power is just as important.
Yeah, it's like having a pantry that's overflowing with groceries,
Okay, yeah.
but you don't really have the cooking skills or the storage
Right.
to use it all.
I gotcha.
And SF Gate doesn't hold back,
Oh, okay.
painting this picture of a state that basically swimming in solar.
Oh, wow.
They point out that California generated almost a quarter
Wow.
of all the utility-scale solar power in the U.S. last year.
A quarter.
That's huge.
Yeah. That's a big chunk.
And it's not just those massive solar farms
Really?
that you sometimes see driving through the desert.
Yeah.
California is also leading the way when it comes to rooftop solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the disconnect?
Well, the article highlights this really stark contrast.
Okay.
California may be a solar superstar,
Right.
but its residents are actually paying 2 to 3 times the national average for electricity.
Wait, so even though there's all this solar power, people's energy bills are still through the roof?
Yeah,
That seems kind of counterintuitive.
it is. And it's not a static problem either.
Right.
The article mentions that electricity rates for customers of big utilities like
Yeah.
PG&E and Southern California Edison have surged by 51% in just the last 3 years. That's way higher than the normal rate of inflation, meaning it's really hitting people's wallets. So we've got this abundance of clean energy,
Right.
but people are paying a premium for their electricity. Something's not adding up.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I need some clarification.
Okay.
If there's so much solar energy,
Mm-hmm.
why are costs so high is the issue, that we're just not using all the power being generated.
You're hitting on a crucial point. The article brings up this staggering statistic. Over 3 million megawatt hours of solar energy were curtailed in California just last year alone.
3 million.
To put that in perspective,
Right.
that's enough energy to power over 500,000 homes for a whole year.
Wow. 500,000 homes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wasted potential.
Yeah, it is.
So why is all this energy going unused?
The SF Gate article points to 2 primary bottlenecks.
Okay.
First, the power lines, especially the long-distance transmission lines,
Right.
just weren't built to handle this massive influx of renewable energy.
Okay.
It's like trying to pour a gallon of water through a straw.
So it's an infrastructure problem. The system just can't keep up with the amount of solar energy being generated.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the second reason is just as intriguing.
Good.
Solar power, by its nature,
Yeah.
is intermittent.
Right.
The sun isn't always shining.
Mm.
And sometimes, especially during those peak sunshine hours,
Yeah.
solar plants actually generate more energy than people need right at that moment.
So we have too much of a good thing at times.
Sometimes, yeah.
What happens to that extra energy? Does it just like disappear?
Not quite.
Okay.
This is where the economics of the energy market come into play, and it gets a bit strange.
That's right.
Because of this oversupply at certain times, the price of energy can actually plummet, sometimes even dipping into negative territory.
Really?
Instead of making money by selling their excess energy,
Yeah.
solar plants are forced to pay traders to take it off their hands.
So they're losing money because they have too much energy.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very sustainable.
Right.
Who ends up bearing the cost of this?
That's the kicker. The article highlights that it's the ratepayers.
Okay.
The people who are paying for electricity.
Right.
They're ultimately footing the bill for this whole situation.
Yeah.
They're the ones funding the operation of the grid and subsidizing solar energy through various programs. But instead of seeing lower energy bills, thanks to all this clean energy,
Right.
they're actually paying more.
That feels like a raw deal for California residents.
It is.
They're investing in clean energy, but the system isn't set up to efficiently utilize it,
Right.
leading to higher costs and wasted potential.
Yeah.
It seems like there needs to be a way to bridge that gap.
Absolutely. And the SF Gate article does explore some potential solutions to this dilemma,
Okay.
which we'll dive into later.
Right.
But first, let's see what ideas the folks over on Reddit have come up with.
All right, Reddit. Let's hear it. What are some of the creative or maybe even crazy solutions people have come up with to tackle California's solar surplus?
Well, the Reddit thread is,
Sure.
it's from the Technology Forum.
Okay.
And as you might expect, there are some pretty interesting ideas floating around.
Okay.
One of the most popular suggestions is using this excess energy for desalination.
Desalination. Okay.
Yeah, California faces constant
wow.
water challenges, right?
Yeah.
So using solar power to turn salt water into fresh water seems like a logical solution.
That does seem like a smart way to put all that extra energy to good use.
Yeah.
Turning a problem into a solution.
Exactly.
I like it. But I can imagine there might be some challenges of that approach too, right?
Right, there are always trade-offs. The Reddit thread dives into some of those, like what to do with the leftover salt from the desalination process.
Okay. Yeah.
Some users had serious suggestions, like using it for de-icing roads in the winter,
hmm
while others, they went full-on Reddit humor mode, suggesting we build a giant salt pyramid or launch it into space.
Classic Reddit. It's always refreshing to see people finding ways to inject humor, even into the most complex issues. Sometimes you just need a good laugh to break the tension.
It can get pretty intense sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Did any other solutions from that thread stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of discussion around the concept of distributed generation,
Yeah.
which basically means shifting the focus away from these massive, centralized solar farms and instead empowering individuals and communities to generate their own power through rooftop solar panels.
So instead of having these huge solar farms pumping out energy and then struggling to transport it all, you'd have smaller scale production happening closer to where the energy is actually needed. That sounds like it could potentially alleviate some of the transmission line bottlenecks we talked about earlier.
hmm
What are some of the benefits and drawbacks of that approach, in your opinion?
That's a great question, and one that the Reddit thread grapples with as well.
Okay.
On the plus side, distributed generation can help reduce the strain on the grid, especially those long-distance transmission lines that are struggling to keep up with the solar surge.
Yeah.
It also increases energy independence and resilience,
Right.
especially during emergencies when centralized power sources might be disrupted.
That makes sense. The more people can rely on their own solar panels, the less vulnerable they are to outages or disruptions in the main power grid. It's like having a backup generator, but powered by the sun. But I imagine there are downsides too, right? It can't be all sunshine and roses, even with solar.
You're right, there are always trade-offs to consider. Some of the challenges of distributed generation revolve around cost and efficiency.
Hmm.
Rooftop solar installations can be expensive,
Yeah.
and individual systems might not always generate as much power as larger utility-scale projects.
Okay.
There are also questions about grid stability
Huh?
and how to manage a network where power is flowing from multiple decentralized sources.
It sounds like we need a balanced approach.
Yeah.
Maybe a combination of large-scale solar farms to take advantage of economies of scale, along with a robust distributed generation network to bring power closer to the people. And let's not forget about energy storage, which seems to be the key to unlocking the full potential of solar, regardless of the scale.
You've hit the nail on the head. California's situation really highlights how important energy storage is going to be
Yeah.
as we transition to a more renewable-based energy future.
Hmm.
It's not just about generating clean energy. It's about having the capacity to store it for when it's needed most, smoothing out those fluctuations in supply and demand.
So we can soak up all that sunshine during the day
Right.
and then release that stored energy to power our homes and businesses at night.
Yeah.
It's like having a giant clean energy battery for the entire state.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating is that this challenge California is facing is actually giving us a glimpse into the future of energy on a global scale.
Exactly. California might be at the forefront of this energy transition,
Yeah.
but they're not alone.
Right.
As more countries embrace renewable energy sources,
Mhm.
they'll encounter similar challenges
Right.
with intermittency, grid integration, and energy storage. What's happening in California today is a preview of what many other regions will be grappling with in the years to come.
It's like a real-time experiment, and the lessons learned here could inform how other countries approach their own renewable energy strategies.
Absolutely.
Speaking of strategies, let's go back to potential solutions. The SF Gate article highlighted the push for battery technology as a key part of California's plan.
Hmm.
Can you tell us more about what's being done on that front and the potential of battery storage to solve this solar quandary?
Sure. Let's dive into that.
Okay.
California, under the leadership of Governor Newsom,
Mm-hmm.
has been making significant investments in battery storage technologies.
Okay.
The idea is to create massive battery banks that can absorb excess solar energy during the day and then release it back into the grid when the sun goes down.
Right.
It's a promising solution, but there are still some hurdles to overcome.
What are some of those hurdles? I imagine cost is a factor,
Yeah.
as with any emerging technology. Are there other limitations we need to consider?
Cost is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Battery technology has come a long way,
Right.
but it's still expensive to build and maintain these large-scale storage systems.
Mhm.
And then there's the question of capacity.
Okay.
Even with the most advanced batteries, we're still talking about limitations in how much energy we can realistically store.
So even if we had all the batteries in the world right now,
Right.
it wouldn't be a quick fix.
No.
We need a whole ecosystem built around these storage solutions to make them truly viable.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that battery technology is constantly evolving. Researchers are working on new types of batteries that are more efficient, less expensive, and have a longer lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So what seems like a major hurdle today might be less of an issue in the future.
That's encouraging. It feels like we're on the cusp of some really exciting breakthroughs in energy storage. And it's not just about batteries either, right?
Right.
Earlier, you mentioned pumped hydro and other alternative storage technologies.
Yeah,
Could those play a role in addressing California's solar surplus?
absolutely. Pumped hydro,
Okay.
where you use excess energy to pump water uphill to a reservoir
Mhm.
and then release it to generate hydropower when needed,
Right.
is a proven and relatively cost-effective storage method. California already has some pumped hydro facilities,
Right.
but there's potential to expand this technology further.
So we're not putting all our eggs in the battery basket. There's
Right.
a whole menu of storage options to explore,
Right.
each with its own advantages and challenges.
Exactly. And it's likely that the most effective solution will involve a combination of different storage technologies
Right.
tailored to specific regions and energy needs.
Okay.
It's about having a diverse and flexible toolkit to manage this influx of renewable energy.
You know, it strikes me that California's solar quandary is, in a way, a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
It means they're succeeding in generating clean energy.
Yeah.
Now the challenge is figuring out how to optimize the system to make the most of that abundance.
I think you've hit on a key point. California's experience offers valuable lessons for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It shows that transitioning to a clean energy future isn't just about flipping a switch and replacing fossil fuels with renewables. It requires a fundamental shift in how we think about energy generation, distribution, and consumption.
So it's a systemic change,
Yeah.
not just a technological one. And California's on the front lines, showing us what works, what doesn't,
Right.
and what innovations are needed to make this transition truly successful.
Precisely. It's a living laboratory for the future of energy. And the lessons learned here will have implications far beyond California's borders.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to circle back to our listener. We've covered a lot of ground today, from California's surprising solar surplus
Yeah.
to the challenges of grid integration and the potential of energy storage solutions. What's the key takeaway you want to leave our listener with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the transition to a clean energy future is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
It's a complex process that requires innovation, collaboration, and a willingness to adapt. There will be challenges along the way, like those California is facing.
Right.
But these challenges also present opportunities for learning and growth.
It's like we're all figuring this out together in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And by understanding the complexities and engaging in these conversations,
Yeah,
we can collectively contribute to a more sustainable energy future.
absolutely. And remember, even small actions can make a difference.
Mhm.
Whether it's supporting policies that promote renewable energy, making energy-efficient choices in our own lives,
Yeah.
or simply staying informed about these issues.
Right.
We all have a role to play.
Well said. We've explored the challenges and opportunities presented by California's solar abundance. But the conversation doesn't end here. If California is already grappling with an oversupply of solar energy, imagine the potential abundance of renewable energy on a global scale. As we unlock the power of the sun, wind, and other clean energy sources, will we be ready to harness their full potential? That's a question worth pondering as we continue on this journey toward a more sustainable future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.